Start this meeting at 5:07. And I think we wanted to add something to the agenda. We were going to talk about moving our meeting down to the multi-purpose room for the next few, I guess forever. We'll make it item 15.
Hey, Daniel, this is Dan. I'm having a harder time hearing you. I don't know if there's a microphone you could pull closer or
Okay. Is that any better?
much better.
Okay. Did you hear what the change to the agenda was?
No, I did not.
We're going to discuss whether we want to move our meetings to the multi-purpose room for the foreseeable future.
Sounds good.
Not the Zoom meetings, but the person ones. So that'll be item 15. So with that change to the agenda, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda as modified.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2 is a consent agenda for approval of the 2025 meeting minutes. All in favor? Or can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's move to item 3, 10 Inlet Circle, Chad.
Do we need a motion first?
No. Is there any discussion? Been through back and forth on this one for a while.
Is John not with us tonight?
I haven't heard from him.
It'd be really helpful for me if Joel could walk through the change in elevation and how we got from a request for a variance to overheight to being below the allowable. It seems like that's where the most confusion is for me anyways.
Yeah, I think that's the sticking point here. I did note, and I think we all noted that in our last meeting that, we've got some height setback issues, and we had a question about how we arrived at the number that they're proposing to us. So Joel, could you please describe where we are with this?
Sure, let me share my screen.
This was a request we had at our last meeting that we have Joel confirm and inform us on how these numbers came to us.
All right. And so the builder, originally when this was heard, it was identified that the building was over height by about 5 feet, I believe. And the builder had come back to lower the roof pitch and also lower the elevation of the house, so sinking the house into the ground more. They still needed a variance, I think, for about 2 feet of height, which was denied on the or 2
It was 2 feet 8 inches.
Yeah. And then that was denied on, I think, a previous meeting. And then the most recent meeting, this was submitted without the variance, and it met the height requirement. So the builder has lowered the house further into the ground, and then also there is in the front of the house they are building a kind of planting area, and so that effectively increases the finish grade. And so here you can see there's where that elevation point is taken from. 10 feet, well, this is measured at 9, but it's 10 feet from the wall for definition 2. So that would hit here at the 350 feet elevation benchmark. And then if we're looking at, let me switch over to the elevation pages. have the right? Here we go. Sorry, I'm used to navigating with a mouse, and then this program behaves differently when I'm on a trackpad here. Oh, I think I have it up. Nope. I was on the right one. So because we've kind of mounded this area in front of the house, increase this finish grade, and that is where the height is measured from. It's measured from the finish grade. So measuring from that 350-foot elevation benchmark, and you could ignore that little 2-foot setback. Measuring up from there, and I can confirm this measurement, it's 19 feet, 8 inches. Measurement. Can you see that, Dan?
Yeah, can you go back to the earlier slide you had that showed the elevations, like the contour? It looked like kind of a contour map.
Yeah, the site plan.
Yeah.
Here's the other elevation from the other angle. There's that 19, 8 3/4. So measuring from that ground, 10 feet from the wall, definition 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I see that. No, there was another one that looked like it had contours.
Let me.
It was one of the early maps you showed.
A plan view?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the one with the contours.
It's the finished contours of the project.
Yeah. So this shows the kind of like the grading plan on how this front area will be. These are it's not a depression, it's a mound.
Right. So it looks like the house itself, I mean, if I'm tracking 346 or something, so the face of the house itself is at 346, but there's like a mound in front to elevation 350, and we're measuring off that 350.
Correct.
So we didn't really do anything with the profile of the house. We just put a pile of dirt in front of it, and we're measuring off that pile of dirt instead.
With using definition 10 or 2 and within the 10 foot, what caused a lot of this is we arbitrarily chose a number off to the right-hand side, which was not really looking at how we would finish the grade, which was a lower grade, which initially caused this whole controversial discussion. And I didn't really use definition 2 and the whole rules of how you really wanted to define the elevation. It's how you wanted to finish the landscape and how you wanted to finish the lot. And that's what I did, and adjusted this, and then came up with what an actual final finished product will be based on using the definition 2 and the rules of everything. And what we had chosen was a lower number that wasn't even really a true finished elevation that caused a lower thing, which we thought, okay, well, instead of coming through and going through a whole intensive landscape, really detailed, and just put in where we're going to do trees and kind of come up with, we're going to do that and go for a variance, which we didn't realize was going to trigger such a reviewing and issue of going through a lot of this. Otherwise, we would have done our due diligence with our client a lot further and listened more with what they wanted for their finished grade. And this is what we did. They wanted to create some privacy up front. They wanted to create around. They have the trees were required to plant are going in there to create screening off of Inlet Circle, to create privacy for them and separation, and to enhance the front, not looking like a big front of a house where it acts like it blends into nature and everything.
All right.
What's the finished grade of the driveway? I know it's sloped, but like at the outside toe of the road, what's the finished grade there, elevation wise?
At the road edge.
Can you go back to that image you just had before that, the site plan or the?
Move some windows around.
At the road, it's 348.
Yeah, that's the struggle I'm having, is like we just throwing a pile of dirt in the front yard, putting a tree in there and saying we're gonna measure off that when you're out there visually looking at it, you're gonna see more of like where are you at? What's your finished grade along this outside toe of the road?
We also did drop the house.
All right, well, I mean, I think the bottom line is, you know, you were asking for a variance earlier, and.
That is off the table and not being.
Sorry.
approved. Right now, the meeting's about what.
Hold on.
the Plans today.
You were asking for a variance earlier, and you addressed it in two ways. One, you did bring the house down a little bit, as far as you possibly could, as far as I can understand. But you also did mound up some dirt, and you finally got to the number. I mean, that's clear. That's what happened, and I don't blame you for doing that. That you're trying to get the numbers up, and I appreciate that. What I'm looking at is the big picture. I see a house it's a big house. Total living space is what, 3,400 feet. You got your, hold on, let me just finish. I think you've got, you've got property coverage is almost topping out. You're covering, as wide a house as you can possibly get on there. I think you have a 5 foot on either side. So, I mean, this is just a big imposing facade.
Let me ask a question.
Top, you just a second, let me just finish, and I'll give you time.
Thank you.
This is a very imposing facade, and I'm still looking at this as a variance because I mean, we're seeing how you did it, and I understand what you're saying, but in my mind, this is a variance, and I have to make my personal decision. My committee will make a decision too. We understand what you did, and we're just looking at what I mean, I drove by there the other day, and you've got a neighbor that has a porch overlooking the lake. I understand you're going to build a house there.
At 24 feet above the road.
I understand. But this is still a tall house, and I'm looking at the big picture, and we make our determinations based on the surroundings and the neighbors.
The house next to it is actually a 3-story house, larger than mine. The one
Well,
that's on the right, the one on the
understand.
left. Is
I
even
understand.
larger
We've
than
all
this one.
we've all looked at these houses. We know what the neighborhood looks like, and you did your due diligence, and you provided us with all that information, and we that's it was important. We did look at that. We do look at that, and I mean,
And I'm trying to meet
just
my
telling
my
you-
client's needs and wants.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's what your job is, and you're bringing that to us, and we're making a determination whether it's the right house for the lot.
Yeah, we've got 2,000 clients,
Dude,
so we gotta keep in mind their needs and wants too.
Well, my question is, does the plan fit and meet all of the ACC design requirements for lot coverage, setbacks, design, lighting, color selections? Does it meet all of the ACC regulations? If it does, and we're not asking for a variance, we're not asking you to, you guys have to be careful of how much you put your personal beliefs into something, because if I'm forced to follow rules and the guidelines, I'm asking you to do the same, to say, okay, this meets the guidelines, it meets this. It's not a large house compared to the neighbors. It is only a 1,900 something square foot. What I do on a daylight basement, if I use the lower floor for square footage or not as crawl space, is relative of what a client uses. If we got rid of the square footage of the basement, which still has to be built to control for a foundation to support the upper structures, if I take the 950 square foot out, now it's a smaller house in your guys' eyes, but it's still the same structure point of having to design. If this was a flat lot and I was 3,500 square foot on a flat lot, that would be a huge house. This is
But
actually
the issue is not the square footage, the issue is the height.
the terrain.
And we have to take all that into account. And I think the issue is here, it's the spirit and the intent of the rules. It's, we are very careful. That's why we're having this discussion, and why you keep getting drugged through the knothole, man, is because we are very careful. We don't just cavalierly approve a building plan. So I think the careful part the box has been checked. And what we're looking at is a house that, if we weren't measuring off this pile of dirt that was thrown in the front, would require a variance. I think that's Daniel's point. So I think we just need to evaluate this as though this was requiring a variance, because if you measure off the finished grade of the driveway, you measure off the outside toe of the road, which is where most people are going to stand when they look at this house. They're not going to stand on the pile of dirt in the front of the yard. They're going to stand at those points. This house is above specs and would require a variance.
Yeah, Chad, to answer your question, you did hit all the numbers that are presented in the end of the policies, but at the beginning of the policies, we have a clause about the powers we have, and we do have to consider things beyond just the numbers. Just because you hit those numbers doesn't mean it's going to fit in the lot.
Past, that's been used as color selections. If a guy chooses a color that's the house next door, you have the ability to say we cannot use that color because it's next door. But when
Well-
it comes to the design of the look, it never have in the past, the ACC over the 30 years it's been here, has ever stretched their opinions on using personal opinions on based on the style of a look of a house if they follow the ACC rules. And we're told, you give us these rules to us, and we try our best to design for our clients in these rules and the fall. All I'm asking you guys is, does this follow in with all the AC rules and does it fit?
I think you're getting by on a technicality. Like, I mean, be honest, be candid. If you bulldoze that pile of dirt in the front, would this pass specs or would you need a variance?
Pardon me?
If you leveled that front of that yard to where you didn't have a mound in the front of the yard, would it pass specs or would it need a variance? I think you're telling us to follow the rules. You're looking for a technicality in these rules. If you took that pile of dirt out in the front, would you be requiring a variance or would it meet specs?
Well, based upon the finishing of my topo of my clients, yes, it would meet the rules still.
No, I'm telling, and whether the topo or not, I don't know that whether you took that topo or not, that I'm telling you, if you took that pile of dirt out in the front, which adds 2 feet to the point where you can measure from, would this house pass specs? I think the answer is no. I'll answer it for you. The answer is no. We're measuring off a pile of dirt in the front. That's why it passed specs. And I think that's the point that Daniel and I are making. And the committee is looking at this saying, like, you've got the letter of the law and then you got the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law says houses above 20 feet require a variance. Letter of the law here says you're not above 20 feet because you measured off a pile of dirt in the front of the yard. That doesn't meet the spirit and the intent of the regulations.
15 minutes.
Okay, well, I think we've debated this enough. I think Chad's point is that he is, he's trying to hit the numbers that we're asking for, and this was his solution to hitting those numbers. Our committee now has to determine whether it's an appropriate design for this lot. I think we all made our points, and I think it's pretty clear where we stand. I think we need to take it to a vote now.
Well, I'd just like to say something. I think, on the pile of dirt there, when you look at it from the street, that's still going to be there, and it's going to make it look like it's the 19.8. So, and he's met the other requirements. I would be in favor of approving the request.
So, Gene, do you have any comments about that?
I'm also going to vote for approve of this request.
Would you like to make a motion, Patrick?
I move that we approve the request, the application for the new construction on 10 Inlet Circle as shown.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Dan, where are you? You there, Dan?
Nope, sorry, I had it on mute. Yeah, no, I'm opposed. I think it meets the letter of the law, but not the spirit.
Okay, that's 2-2.
We need John here. He's the
Yeah.
tiebreaker.
Well, that's the vote. I'm not sure what that.
Robert's Rule of Orders is a 2-2 vote. It's not approved. It's just a stalemate, basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means, Chad.
I'm just trying to follow the rules.
I know, no, I understand, and we're trying to do our due diligence. I like when we meet in the middle. And we kind of are in the middle right now. So, well, I'll find out what that means.
All right. But I did take pictures for Joel to explain the size of the house compared to the neighbors.
No, you did, and we did review that, and we spent hours on this property, and it's just how we all view it. Patrick sees it one way, I see it another way. That's where we stand.
It wasn't such a steep lot. There could not such tall looking.
I understand, and all these lots are different, and that's why it makes it so complicated. And what works for one lot doesn't work for another. And
I'm also fighting that storm drain.
I know you're.
And
I know
that's why
you've got a
it's kinda
job to
hard to
do.
lower to do. We thought we were trying to meet to the middle, try to find something that our client wants to.
I understand.
And, they're willing to, they're spending a lot of money to be members with us here. We're trying to accommodate them and make them feel welcome.
Okay, well, that's where we are with that one, but we'll move on to Sanwick.
So then, what's the status on this? Is
I don't know, I never really had this situation before. I don't know why, where John is. I don't even know where he stands on this.
Well, what we did is we did remove the variance request initially and came and brought the house in to the setbacks to get the house approved, to show that this house meets and fits. And then that's what we're looking for. Step one is, does the house meet the requirements? Does it fit within the thing? Does it follow everything? And then we'll talk separately on a safety issue.
Yeah, I understand, Chad. I mean, we have to move on now.
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, we've not gotten approval on it, so the next step would be to get a variance request in on that elevation.
We're asking for two different things. The first one is construction thing. We're not asking for a variance on the construction one. We have two separate situations. So the first one is the plans. They're within the setbacks, they're within the lot coverage, they're within everything. Basically, in the end, what we're doing is switching the front from the back concept. And we
Okay.
have 3 letters from 3 neighbors and stuff too, supporting the second thing. But the first one is, the process is, they get the construction plans. Are they approvable as is with the way they are? And that's what we're asking for right now, so we can have guidance and understanding on that for the design of the plans.
Okay, well, regarding item 3, I think we made it clear how we feel, and I'm sorry, I don't know what the determination is on the 2-2 vote, but
Well, I'm off 10. I thought we were on Sanwick.
okay, well, let me just
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, I understand. Okay, yeah, so for 4 and 6 Sanwick, it looks like my reading of this is that you've got 2 applications, one with and one without the variance. And it's pretty much just a placement of the house on the lot that makes the change. And again, here we have 3,700 square foot with garage, 3,500 garage. Retaining wall, we asked you to give us some little definition on that. You gave us Allen wall, Allen brick, which I thought looked pretty good. Yeah, one of the things that we asked for was the neighbors' approval on the easement. You know, what their feelings were about the easement and what you're going to be doing to it. What you gave us was letters from neighbors talking about the variance where the house is positioned on the property. So there was no
Still
real.
confused on the easement thing.
Do you have anything to say? Do you have anything to add? Are you going to have anything to add to this conversation? Well, if you have something to add to this conversation, we'll address it later. Okay. Will you have something to say? Okay. So yeah, the question that you asked in your letter that you presented to the neighbors was whether they had a preference for a variance or not variance. It wasn't about the work that would be done on the actual easement. So you didn't give them a choice as to whether the house would fit the lot differently. It was more about where the house would be placed and whether there'd be a variance in the front of the yard. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, we first went in and we're coming in for, we're kind of getting ahead. You're putting another request in over another one. The request for the questions on the easement, it's a very clear legal rule. We own the lots. They have an easement which allows egress, ingress, and the permission. We cannot block them for anything. We own the land. They have the right to use the lots unconditionally. It doesn't matter who owns it. That's a legal termination. We're not taking the easement from them. They have the right to use it. We're not going to block it. They have That's something that's been written on the deeds.
Well, part of
I
what,
understand the question on the easement.
part of what you addressed was how you would handle the construction, during construction, how that would be, how would,
We
that
did
would
get
affect
that
the
letter.
easement. You did, and that was, and that-
Explaining how we'll create parking, do the correction, how we'll do it in steps to make it actually safe access. We did spell out I thought we did a
well,
construction.
you did a very good job with that, and that was helpful. That was what we asked for, and that's what we got. Anybody else have any comments about these properties?
I'd like to hear from the neighbor what his comments are regarding this. Is it regarding 4 or 6 Sanwick, or both?
I'm John Quigg. I'm homeowner of North Point 36. Nick here is 30. So I basically have a statement. Mind if I read my statement?
Please.
I've talked to
Coming through.
several of you over the last couple
Uh,
of months.
Really hard time hearing. If you could speak right in the microphone, that'd be appreciated.
So, again, my name is John Quigg, owner of 36 North Point. I'm also representing Nick Capella, 34 North Point, as well as Sid and Debbie Strong, 28 North Point. These 3 lots are adjacent to the service road of 4 and 6. The original request for setback of modification from 20 foot to 15 foot off of Sanwick, that's something that you guys, the board's going to have to, decide, approve or reject.
Yeah, we're looking at that today.
But our concern is more about the setback requirements that are being proposed for the additional setback off the service road to incorporate the service road and our setback on our side, the 5 foot, to encompass the 20 foot, as well as along with the 15 foot to satisfy the 35 foot setback requirement. Is that correct? Cumulative from the front and the back. 30 total. Front and back. 20 and 10. But to get your 10 off the backside, you're encompassing the service road. That is, yeah, that's our issue, is the annexing of that property into your calculation to satisfy your county requirement for setback.
But I think that's where the plat originally was, correct? Where the Yeah, my understanding is that the road. The, so you're moving the easement to where it actually is supposed to be according to the plans, right? Where it was originally drawn, correct? Okay, is that your understanding?
I understand that, but that still doesn't give them adequate setback still for the requirement without incorporating the service road itself into that total setback requirement. And in Sudden Valley Homeowners Association basically owns that road. That is common element. I believe it is. Now you have a perfect right to access it, all 5 lots. I see it. I have no document of ownership of that property. This is the easement that was recorded back in 1975 that shows that the lots 1 through 5 at that time, they didn't have the addresses 2 through 10. No. My problem is establishing a protocol that dictates the future. So you're going to incorporate the setback of a third party's property into your property description.
I think that's.
Sudden Valley, I believe.
The easement is owned by,
owns the service road.
the easement is not owned by Sudden Valley. It's not a Sudden Valley owned service road. it's owned by the lot owners or six.
See anywhere where the ownership of that road is connected to those lots.
It,
The easement
it's
is
recorded on the
access
deed.
of-
It's on the deed of those lots. You can find the easement, recorded easement number on the deed to those lots.
I got the recorded easement, I got the topographical, but according to the building department and the planning department, that road is as a utility service road that was established through the plot plan of Sudden Valley. Right. For access. I understand they have the same legal right to it, to access it, but I don't understand the deed of your property, including that service road. Okay. Well, if that's the case, you know, it's more about ensuring that the thing is done properly, you know. Then realignment of the service road, like we were talking about, cuts into my side of the service road into the embankment. And your proposal is for retaining walls and some sort of draining system, I suppose.
I think everything that you're doing,
Well, I don't have any stormwater coming off that hill, but that whole hill weeps pretty well.
so everything that you're building for the new access road is on your property, is that correct?
So, no, absolutely.
At this point, the easement is sort of encroaching on, beyond where it should be onto your property, is that correct? Right.
So,
That's my understanding. They're all aware of this, so.
explain to me here on this topographical, where's your property line? Right here. That's the property line. Edge of the service road, the realignment.
Easement goes from the property line, 10-foot easement. That is your easement document. And then we have to, by Whatcom County rules, the house has to be 5 feet off of that 10 foot.
So in this document that you're referring to, where does it talk about ownership of that property?
All right, hold on. Joel, is there any reason,
That's the case.
hold on, all right, let's let Joel explain this a little bit. Is there any reason to be concerned about the ownership of where this new road is gonna be? What's the
I have
situation?
no concern about it. I mean, I believe Chad is correct here. The lot and the easement within it, that easement area is under ownership of the lot 1 here. And every lot downstream of that also has that same easement and ownership of that section. So each of these properties is encumbered by that 10-foot easement. We have looked this up we've looked at the deed on the assessor's site, and we've found the assessor's filed number is on there, 1192890. It is recorded against the deed, and it serves all those lots. So Yeah,
Okay, so we're operating
Chad is correct-
operating
Chad
under
is
the
correct here.
assumption that this road is legit. You know what Chad's plan is legit. We've done our due diligence and determined that, and that's what we're going to operate under that assumption. Is there anything else any other concern you have beyond that?
I think that Rubicon is a quality builder. I see, what they're doing. I spent 30 years in working with developers and for developers, and I see the challenges with those lots, but I'm concerned, like he's explaining to me now, the legality of that service road.
Yeah, and you did mention this to me a few months ago because
Yeah,
you were
I know.
concerned about it.
That conversation also in this
On,
document.
get closer to the mic.
Pertains to the lots, 5 lots, being responsible for the maintenance of that road. And not that you've owned it forever, but as long as I've been here and knowing the owner of number 8, he's been maintaining the maintenance of that road for the last 30 years. So to ensure that moving forward in a correct and legal manner.
Well, because you brought this up a while ago, we did look into this and wanted to confirm that what we're reviewing here is correct. And I appreciate your concerns and bringing them to the table here.
Make sure that well, to me, in the second request, the first request went out from the county. We got notification. The second request for the setback came through Sutton Valley that I was informed about. So,
John, speak into the mic.
being in the trade for a number of years, I've experienced a lot of good old boy handshake deals, and I just don't want that to happen in a world that we live in today. And, yeah. Well, I was informed of the intent of the modification on the Sanwick Road, but not of this
Daniel, we're at 15 minutes.
request. Yeah. Well,
All right. Well, thank you, John. Thank you. We have to move on.
time.
Okay, so I think there are a lot of little details here, but I think what I'm seeing as a salient issue here is whether there could be a variance approved or not for these properties. On the one hand, we have no variance in the houses, both houses, 4 and 8, 4 and 6 would be closer to the easement. And if there is a variance, it just pushes the house further toward Sanwick, reducing the setback to 15 feet rather than 20 feet. I think the house is still the same size, same footprint. Is that correct?
There's
Yes,
some,
'cause what we did is we brought it into to be compliant with the normal pathways of the construction review. And then after that, saying that this plan works, fits, everything, if it's approvable, we're hoping it is. And then we can then have a conversation of the concerns of all the neighbors of what can we do with this approved plan to make sure everybody in the neighborhood is getting what they want and satisfied and everything's safe for everybody.
Yeah, I think that was
That's why we're
clear
trying
from
to
what
do
you
this
outlined.
process to keep it a simpler and cleaner approvability, I think it is we're trying to, I noticed last time that I think I tend to get a little too technical and everything, and it gets confusing, and it makes everything kind of hardest to get stuff, so I'm trying to do it in simpler steps.
Yeah, well, I mean, we appreciate as much information as you can give us just to keep these meetings a little shorter if possible. The one thing that it's not a big issue, but the one thing that concerned me was that the letter that you sent out was, you said that all the neighbors approved the variance, but that wasn't really the question of what we asked you to talk to them about. But that's information that we'll take into consideration in our determinations. Does anybody else have any comments? Dan, can you hear us?
Yeah, no, I can hear you guys, tracking the discussion.
It's about,
I think if we can approve this without the variance, that's the way to go for me, so.
okay, so it looks like it's, they're good to go with both of these plans without a variance if that's what we, determine. Um, So, Patrick, do you have any comments?
Is that correct, Chad?
Correct. These all fit within the setbacks, fit the rules of the coverage, the overhangs, the setbacks off of everything, the open space,
Okay, so you can build both these homes without the variance.
correct. And without impeding anybody on Sanwick too.
Yeah, this is an interesting easement thing with, this is not a Sudden Valley right away, like Joel said, it's not there, so. Yeah, I'm comfortable building these homes as long as there's no variance request, so.
All right, well, let's look at,
Yeah, I think we have a question over here. Variance they're talking about is moving where the house sits from Sanwick and, you know, the front and back of the house.
the variance would be for a 15-foot. What Dan stated that he was sort of in favor was not allowing a variance and just going with the 20-foot setback from Sanwick.
With keeping it, basically approving it to keep it closer within the setbacks of, at the
Yes. So what would be the setback off of that easement then, Joel?
As is without the variance?
Correct.
5 feet to the wall of the house or 4 feet to the eave. That's the setback from the back of the house to the edge of the access easement, the gravel. From the back property line there, it'd be 15 feet to the wall or 14 feet to the eave from the property line. Does that make sense? I can share my screen here.
So this was all approved by the county.
Yeah, the 5-foot
Setback.
setback off of the easement is a county rule. Yours is 10 feet off of the property line, but then there's an easement. There's an easement, the county on a back property or side county, it's a 5-foot setback off of any easement. If that was a 30-foot easement, I'd still have a 5-foot setback.
So
Off of the existing service road, we would be putting the house right on the gravel. By moving the access road into the actual easement and correctly putting it, we'd be 5 feet off of it.
so you can see where the 5 and the 4 feet are measured to the wall or to the eave
That'd still be the 20
from the easement.
off the stamp.
And then measuring all the way down, it's
Let's
14
let
feet.
Joel
there.
explain this.
There's 14 feet setback from the property line to the eave, or the 5 or the 4. 5 is measured to the wall of the house. The 4 feet is measured to the eave from that 10-foot access easement. Does that make sense?
And to clarify a little bit, the access road will not be 10 foot. It'll be 9 foot wide. So it'll have 6, that way it's not utilizing the whole thing. We don't need a 10-foot wide gravel pathway. We only need 8 to 9 to make it passable and be safe for everybody. So we're actually going to do a 9-foot with 6 inches off of the wall and 6 inches off of the easement line, so that there's grace period where the gravel goes, protection, and we don't want people driving right next to the retaining wall.
And then if the easement was approved, that would allow the house to be moved forward further away from that access easement and that roadway. Does that make sense? Like we saw in the previous submission.
Yeah. Yep.
So the house currently exists within all of the Sudden Valley setbacks.
But for clarification, you're gonna do a 9-foot easement, but if the neighbors downstream came back and said, no, that doesn't work for us, we want 10-foot, they've got the ability to flex their easement rights under the recorded easement to go to 10-foot. So you'd have to go to 10-foot then, correct?
I'm sorry you lost me on that,
Well, I mean, you said you're gonna go to 9 foot on the easement, not 10 foot?
It's 10-foot easement, so as long as the service road stays within that 10-foot easement. And then we'd have 5 foot from the easement line to the house.
Okay, but you said 9 foot, you're gonna like, the actual gravel pathway was gonna be 9 foot.
Yes. to
All right,
allow-
but if the downstream, to the downstream landowner said like, no, we actually want 10 foot of gravel or 10 foot of easement, like that, they could get that.
Side. We'll have
Yeah.
to add 6 inches on each side then.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
But they'd be responsible for the easement in front of their property, correct, Joel?
I don't have the language of the easement in front of me, but those property owners, I'm not sure if they're individually responsible or they are all collectively responsible for each easement in their individual lot. What do you?
Technically, each owner
It's out of my
is
scope.
maintaining the
Yeah.
gravel road in their property where the easement is.
Yeah.
So 4 is to maintain it, 6 to maintain it, 8 is to maintain it. Unfortunately, 10 is never here, so she has a hard time maintaining it. And then Mark doesn't have an easement, but he has the access to be able to go up and down.
Yeah, I would imagine the downstream landowners, like, they just have the ability to drive 10 foot or have an access easement 10 foot from one side to the other. Whether it's gravel, dirt, whatever it is, like, that's up to them, so.
Yes, you have a question? Please come to the microphone. Please come to the microphone.
Old legs. So when you move the service road our way,
Dan, can you hear him?
cutting into the bank, and is my understanding your 6 inches is going to be the retaining wall? So that retaining wall is on your property still? And then that would be subject to your maintenance and upkeep and so on and so forth. And I know you got from a 2 to 4 foot wall. Nick here actually has the property with the railroad ties, so he's got probably a bigger cut than I do. And I was curious as to the apron when you run out to the street. There's that service sewer head right there on the corner. Oh, I was wondering, are you going to go through it or around it or under it or? That's why the road is turned around it. Probably be on our property. And then when your driveway comes off for 4, right there, that retaining wall, the height of that retaining wall is substantial. It starts and it's same level, but it's going to be slowly. It's going to keep your pad level, but it's going to be, as it goes down the hill, it's going to be graduating in elevation. So the aesthetic of that is going to be concerning. You're not going to use some stamped concrete or something.
Well, we did ask for clarification on the retaining wall, and they gave us clarification. It'll be the Allen block, which I think looks nice. I think they've offered really good suggestions about any questions we had. Is there anything else, any other issue that you have?
No, in fact, some of the regulations that you've incorporated since Rubicon 12 was built, some of the homeowners concerning traffic and parking and all that has been addressed by you, and I know that they'll comply.
All right, thank you for your input. Dan, do you have enough information to make a motion on 4?
Yeah, I'll make a motion on 4, which is without the variance, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve item 4 as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, item 5 with the variance for the same property. Dan, you want to repeat that again?
Since we just approved the motion to do without the variance, I'm gonna make a motion to deny without the variance, deny the variance.
All in favor?
Can I speak on that first before we vote and make it quite apparent what the letters from the owners and everybody and for a safety purpose point on the why?
Sure, go ahead.
They
Go ahead, Chad.
requested us to, the owners requested us to apply for a variance. A letter from 12 Sanwick, 10 Sanwick and 8 Sanwick had requested us to file after the plans to go for a variance. That's why we're doing this in two parts. They're requesting us to go for a variance to push the house away from the sewer, from down, and kind of in the concept of let's do in the thought process of a swap. Instead of a 20-foot front yard, kind of that's becoming the backyard of these are the front, but we're doing a 5-foot setback to gain privacy and protection for the owners going up and down that. And that would help him relieve his pressure, his concerns of how people are going to access and save by pushing the house away from the easement more. We now gain safety access. It creates a lot more safety, and it's not still intruding on anybody on 12 Sanwick or anybody's views. It doesn't change any of the plans, but what it's doing is, as association members, you've said we take into account what the neighbors and everybody wants. There's three other owners on that easement would like you guys to grant and request a variance to shorten the front yard setback by 5 feet. Push the house 5 feet from that easement.
Well, in my mind and in my determination, I'm looking at Sanwick as the main road, and that would affect more people. The easement isn't as concerning for me. If we could build this house without a variance, I'd feel much better and more comfortable with it. It seems like the idea of making a smaller house that would fit the lot better wasn't on the table or proposed to these neighbors who were concerned about the encroachment into the easement. So I feel better pulling it away from Sanwick and just building this house without a variance. Do you, Patrick?
You mean to me, have the house closer to the access road?
Yeah, off of Sanwick and not requiring a variance, but pushing the house closer towards Sanwick.
Moving the house closer to Sanwick.
The variance would require you to push it closer to Sanwick. Correct, Phil?
Yeah, the main road, Sanwick. So it would move it away from the access road easement toward Sanwick is down below. It's the road down below the property and that front property.
So the 20-foot off of Sanwick would be encroached 5 feet.
Yeah, it'd be 15 foot off Sanwick.
Correct.
That's the variance you're asking for.
Correct. That is the variance request by the.
And it's typical with both
Yeah.
of these properties.
And it says it's kind of flipping the concept that the back of the house is closer to Sanwick. And maybe that's originally the way it probably should have been approached as in a concept, but by pushing it forward and granting the variance, you're gaining protection and safety off also the sewer main. There's a sewer main that runs right down through that Water District 10 sewer main. We do have to over excavate, which we can do. We can do all this, but it's gonna cause complications and stuff. So we would like the idea to make everybody happy in the neighborhood by putting the house kind of in the middle of the lot and basically and making sure it's safe for everybody to come in, safe to construct, safe to access, safe for Water District 10 to utilize their thing. We're trying to follow the request of the three owners that will be accessing this easement, and they have, there's only our two, and there's those three. So there's 5 people, there's 3 against 2 on this. 3 people of that easement would like us to push it back.
And do you agree? You need to get your steps in.
I understand the conversation that we're discussing the original request for the setback to be modified from 20 to 15. And that would move the property of the house respectively 5 feet away from us towards Sanwick. I think that's valid. One of the things, in the ACC documents, 14.1 intent, and you mentioned it a minute ago about the lot dictating the footprint, versus vice versa. And I think by doing that, that allows for that to be more relevant. That makes sense?
Yeah, I would agree.
I wasn't clear what, make that point again, please.
By, accepting the request for the variance to be modified from 20 to 15 allows for the property parameters to be more conducive to the footprint that he's proposing.
Okay, thank you.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, based up,
Dan, did you make a motion or not?
I did not. I'm confused as hell on this deal.
okay, yeah, I would move to approve the variance based upon the statements made by the builder and the neighbors, their feelings about that as well.
Yeah.
So I would move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Dan, did you say anything?
No, I'm thinking. I mean, this, my thought would be to like shrink the size of the house to fit the lot instead of asking for a variance. So I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point too. That seems like that was never on the table as an option. It was either build this big house here or move it here. So I'm kind of in line with Dan there. So I'm gonna vote no too.
It's not like it's a small house, man. It's a 3,000 square foot house. That you could shrink this thing a little bit. So
Yeah, I think shrinking it would solve all the problems. It would make it would fit even better with the lot. So yeah, that's 2-2.
So we have another tie, just again, 2-2, okay.
For the
We'll
variance.
research for the
The
variance.
yeah.
Correct.
The house, we're good.
The new construction has been approved. The variance for number 4 is tied 2-2.
I don't know that.
so tie goes to the runner. So I would suggest we have like a track meet or something. I'm gonna nominate Daniel to run.
I nominate a homeowner viewing this.
All right, well, let's move on to, this is probably going to be a typical thing here. Item 7. Item 6.
Six.
Item 6. Do we need any more debate on this, or can we go to a vote?
I think we go to a vote.
Patrick?
Okay, I move that we approve it as submitted.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Dan?
No.
No on item 6. New construction? Dan?
Oh, new construction, yes.
This is not the variance yet. This is just
Yeah,
the new construction.
New construction, yes.
Okay. Unanimous, yes. Any debate or discussion on the variance for 6 Sanwick?
I think we've covered it. I would move to approve the variance.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
No.
Who motioned that?
2.
I did.
Thank you. And once again, we have a 2-2.
We'll have
Aye
a
on that?
conversation with the owners then. and
Yeah, it was 2-2.
All right. I'll let the 3 owners know that the outcome.
Okay.
And thank you, guys.
Well, we don't necessarily know that the variance has been disapproved. We need to find out the results of that, right?
So the constructions have been approved, right?
Constructions have been approved,
The variances are 2-2.
2-2, and we need to find out.
We'll let you know. I'll check with the protocol person back at the home office tomorrow. I'll check with Diane.
Okay, item 8. Jay?
8 Valley. There we go, Jay.
Good evening. How we doing?
Oh, yeah, we talked about this, I think it was our last go-around. This is for the tree removal for I don't think anybody's clear about how many trees that you were requesting here.
Yes. So my understanding of it is, I came in for initially.
Can you hear Dan?
You got me?
Yep, no, I can hear. All good.
So I came in initially to ask for removal on one tree, which is the tree that is conflicting with the driveway.
Right.
At the front right of 8 Valley View. The result was there were 2 other trees that were identified early on as having damage, and they're noted in the pictures there. And the outcome of the last time I was here was 2 things. Arborist report for not only that tree that I was requesting, but also arborist report for the additional 2 trees.
Yeah.
And so I provided that, and I'm here to see what you guys think.
Oh,
So it sounds like you need to cut 3 trees down. Is that correct?
I would like to cut just 1 tree down, which is that one in front, but I'm here to see if you guys also want me to cut the other 2 down and back. I don't like cutting down trees. I really don't. I know Sudden Valley is a fan of keeping trees whenever possible. So I would like to cut, my preference is to just cut down the tree in front and leave the 2 in back.
Well, I think if I understand this right, all 3 of these trees were damaged, and I think it was number 3 that was damaged, but it also has some
Rot.
rot in it.
Yes, that's
So-
correct.
So my impression is that at least 1 and 3 need to come down.
yes.
But I also had questions of how these, just going forward, so we can prevent this in the future. How were these trees scraped up like that?
Yes.
Was there anything that you put around these trees to prevent this, or how did this happen?
Unfortunately not. So the trees at the bottom of the lot, due to the steepness of it, when the trees were felled, I guess that's the word you would use during clearing. When the trees were felled, there's some branches that just came and scraped against them. I don't think they were felled and came in contact with it. It's more like when they limb the trees, the big limbs come down, and usually they don't roll. These guys are good. They're really good. They know how to cut, so they're not cutting off too much. But these were 2 trees that ended up with some damage. I actually wasn't aware of it. I was notified by somebody. I think Diane or security.
Yeah, we went out there one day, and
Okay.
we saw those immediately. We'd really like to avoid that in the future, and
Yes.
I don't know what. I mean, were these cut in pieces, or was this one big tree that came down?
Sorry, what was the question?
It seems like it was preventable, and there may be some fines involved with this.
Oh, with these for damage on these trees?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. I was.
But I think what we're suggesting is tree 1 and 3 come down based on the damage and the, I guess,
Arborist report.
and the arborist report.
Sure.
Sound right, Joe Jean? Does that sound right? 1 and 3? Okay. Dan, are you in agreement with that? 1 and 3?
Yeah, that's my take is the 1 and 3 need to come down. They're based on the arborist report. I don't think we can assume that liability to keep them up, so.
Sure.
Okay.
I have a question. When the damage came to the trees, was it from the limbs falling or when the tree was felled?
I believe it was when the trees were limbed prior to them getting cut down. I don't believe this is damage caused by like a tree getting felled in a big log and that log falling and making contact. I think that would be a bigger deal. I think you'd see a lot more damage if that was the case. That's speculation. That's my theory. I actually don't know. I was there briefly that morning when they were doing the lot clearing, but to tell you the truth, it made me really nervous. Those guys are absolutely fearless, and I have the highest respect for them, and they're total pros, and they know what they're doing. But to answer your question, Daniel, Can we do anything about it? Probably. And I think that in the future, if we're ever so foolish to build again on lots this steep, I think what we'd do is we'd pick all the trees at the bottom and just put up some kind of protection. I don't think it'd be
Well,
too.
I will use that as a suggestion in the future for
Yeah.
other builders. I mean,
I don't think it would be too difficult. Yeah, sure, it could be done.
okay. All right, Patrick, do you want to make a motion on this?
Okay, I move that we approve the request for the tree removal, but for trees 1 and 3 be removed and tree 2 be retained.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go down to item 14. Lighting. Thank you for providing those for us, Jay.
Yes.
I'm good. You guys want to make a motion on this? Patrick?
Which one are we doing?
We're doing item 14, the lighting.
Okay. I move to approve the construction change request and for them to use whichever one they want, either option A or B. Leave it to their discretion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Patrick, you just approved it to pick whichever one you guys want?
That's what I heard.
Right. Yes.
That's what you were asking last.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all for you, right?
Okay, great. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Take care. Oh, there it is. 34. Item 11. 34 Morning Glory. Looks like you managed to change the driveway slope by, I guess you just eliminated that landing area. Is that correct? Seems like it's a pretty flat area already.
That's what Todd, am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, yeah, that's how Todd, the main issue was confusion as to what the actual number is.
Yeah. Well,
And I think he lengthened the whole pitch of the driveway.
Yeah.
Slope part of it. Yeah, so it looks like the swale is now a trench drain.
So I think this was another one of those homes where there just wouldn't be any trees left, right? I mean, admittedly, there's a lot of scrub, alder and older trees in that area, but my understanding is that everything would be cleared out. Is that correct? That you're aware of?
I'm not sure about the very back, but I think in general, you're right. There are a couple big trees, but they're compromised.
Yeah, I didn't see any that were significant trees.
Yeah.
Anybody have any comments about this?
I'm just curious how we went from 18% to 9 to 10%. Like, that's a significant reduction. I'd like to see Joel explain, like, I mean,
Sure.
Holy shit, that's a steep slope, man. Like, how do we go from the one to the other? Excuse my language.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, so the original plans, if you give me a minute, I'll pull them up and give you a side by side. Do my best here. The original plan, I'll describe it though. Coming from the roadway toward the house, the driveway dipped down and then flattened out. On the new revised plan, the driveway gradually slopes from the road up closer to the garage door. So by doing so, you're lessening the angle or the grade. Does that make sense? With
No, I
that
get that, but like, you're cutting it in half almost. That's pretty significant over a short linear distance.
Yeah, I was actually surprised it was presented as such a steep slope because it's really not that steep there. I don't see how where he would have any problem getting the numbers he's suggesting this time.
You all went out and looked at that on Tuesday, right?
We did, yeah.
So it looks, as far as the slope for the drive, that looks legitimate, I guess.
I didn't see any problems with that.
Yeah. Okay, well, he seems to have met all the requirements.
What about the stormwater easement? Like, there was a conversation in previous ACC notes about the stormwater easement. Has that been approved?
I don't have any knowledge of that.
It just says may also require an easement.
Yeah,
Stormwater protection, sewer, and all that may require going through a park, Sudden Valley Park. Like, I don't feel comfortable approving a house if we don't have the easements approved by this. And that's not our call, but like, the HOA board needs to approve easements through Sudden Valley property.
right. And that,
Go back, the last thing I had is the only thing I had was the driveway slope was the last meeting.
yeah.
So we don't know that the developer or the builder has submitted that request to the HOA and that that's gotten approved.
Well, first of all, the sewer doesn't require, it's not going to actually go into the park. When they installed the sewer connection for the neighbor, the county actually pulled it out of the park and provided a stub for 34. I don't know if you got the latest.
I don't know. I'm looking at this one here. Is it updated in the newer plan set? Let me find it. Where did I go? Morning Glory. It's still showing crossing the park there.
What's the dashed green line?
The dash green line, that I think is where you'd be running your sewer to, down to over there to Oak Crest Circle. That's Morning Glory up there. You'd be running out the back of the lot.
Yeah, that doesn't mesh with the diagrams that I've seen.
I can take a look and see if we have something different. I don't think they would be in the folder because they should be in the newer. Oh, here it is. So here's the revised sewer connection map where they're going to connect to the 36 Morning Glory combined.
Right.
So it won't require trenching into that park area.
It won't require?
Shouldn't. right?
Right,
If
'cause
that's the connection point
is
at the
actually
corner.
At the corner, 2 lots off the park.
Mm-hmm. So this solid green line going through the park is existing and serves 36 Morning Glory.
So is there an easement required for this or not?
I can't imagine one if if this is what is the new proposed one, if he's not going into the parkway, a park lot. For the stormwater, I think your stormwater plan, let's take a look.
Forget, but is it going across the road? It's,
This one's showing it going down the back of the lot.
Oh.
Probably there's a stream back there. So my guess is it would terminate into the stream. I'm not sure how far it is proposed to go back there. So if it is going into that park lot to some extent, then it probably require an easement. Sutton Valley would probably want to see one. That's my thinking.
So if we approve a property like this and it still requires some sort of easement or review from Sudden Valley, is that, when does that take place?
Whenever those easement, I think it would have to come to the attention of the GM, and you'd have to put a proposal together, and I think he would take it to the board.
Okay. Was there a new a tree planting plan, a new tree plan, this one?
Tree planting?
Yeah.
I think we just have the landscape plan.
yeah, as Alan said, there was only one line come back, and that was the slope of the driveway. Everything else was covered in earlier meetings.
Yeah, I think this is from a previous meeting. I'm looking for see if there actually was a new tree plan presented from that. I think it's a December meeting. Submit an updated tree plan. Is that, do we see that here? Is that?
Oh, that was in,
11?
I think that was from the first meeting, and then, let's see, let me pull up the,
Yeah, originally, someone was confused about how many trees there actually were,
Yeah.
and the only thing I could come up with is that the survey was old enough that very thin trees wouldn't appear on that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think most of them were. They were old trees.
But you also wanted the property lines strong
Yeah, that wasn't clear.
to
Give-
help figure out whether a tree is on the lot or not.
So it looks to me like most of the trees will be removed, even though they are kind of insignificant trees. Do we feel like we need to request a replanting? How do you feel, Patrick?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Dan, do you have any other comments?
No, my only concern is the right of way. Do they have the right of way from Sudden Valley? Can we make the approval contingent upon getting that? So, but maybe we can approve the construction like what we've been presented today, and like if they don't get that right away from Sudden Valley, then we don't go forward. So, or they
Yeah.
don't go.
easement.
Yeah, there aren't
Easement
any
for
real
stormwater.
significant trees in that area, so I'm not concerned that that would affect that at all. So I feel comfortable with that. Did you have a point, Joel?
Oh, Dan was using the word right away. but I think
Oh.
he meant to say easement.
Easement, okay. Is that clear, Dan?
Yep, no, yeah, easement right away.
Okay.
Who's got the motion?
I think Dan does.
Dan has the motion.
Not. I do not make a motion on approving new houses in Sudden Valley. I could care less if another one got built, so.
Patrick?
Yes, I approve, I move that we approve the resubmission on 34 Morning Glory.
All in favor?
All right,
All opposed? Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Let's do a fun one now. Item 9. The garbage shed.
who knew trash could be so much fun?
I think everybody's got small issues with this. I mean, this is obviously a compliance issue that is trying to be addressed. He wants to put it on the other side. I was going to suggest that if we approved it, it would go on the parking side. Yeah, that's the side he wants it on. One concern that John actually brought up was that this doesn't look like it's big enough for even one of these bins at 40 inches. And we also had questions about whether this was going to be what does it mean by non-permanent? Is this going to be attached to the ground somehow? Where exactly would it be located? And there are concerns about whether this is going to be in the right of way. I think we don't really have enough information to approve this. We understand it's trying to address a compliance issue, but I'm not sure this is the right answer. Does anybody else have any comments about this other than what I just brought up? Dan, do you have any comments? I think you made some comments in the email, is that right?
I mean, I am, as somebody who hauls a couple of trash cans and recyclable bins up and down the driveway every 2 weeks, I'm sympathetic there are issues. But yeah, I'm not sure how we just get comfortable with installing these giant bins next to the right of way all the time. I'm just not comfortable with it, so.
Yeah, and it's not really a simple decision because this may be a solution that others look to that may be having the same problems that these people are having.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure.
it's a precedent issue. Like if we do this for this guy or this person, guy, if we do this for this homeowner, we have to be comfortable doing this for every homeowner in Sudden Valley.
Yeah, that's my hesitation.
But we do these on a case by case basis.
We do.
So
We
even
do.
if we approved this one, we wouldn't necessarily have to approve subsequent ones.
That's true.
There is,
But my question there, Patrick, that's a great point. My question there is, like, what's our criteria for approving them? Like, if the driveway is a 15% slope, we approve them, but if it's a 10% slope, we don't approve them? Like, where do we draw the line on approving or not approving? So if we're gonna do this, like, maybe we need to set some criteria up for how we approve these.
that's kind of a slippery slope because in some cases it's not about the geography, it's the health of the homeowner. If
Yeah,
the-
actually, that's a point I wanted to bring up, Alan. Maybe you can answer this. It looked like their mailing address was not at this location. Do they actually live here?
They do. They do. It is a health-related issue. They just had difficulty moving it, and it was to resolve a citation for leaving the trash down there.
Okay. Yeah.
And it is in gate 5, and you know how that gets snowy and takes forever to thaw
No
out.
rules there. Um,
It's anarchy over in gate 5.
can attest to that.
No, and again, I'm trying to be like, I don't want to be unsympathetic to this because I have parents and in-laws that I would not want to see have to drag these trash cans up and down. But once you start, where do you stop? Like I said in my email, like pay the neighbor kid $10 to take your trash in and out. So
Yeah, in my mind, because of the slope of the driveway and the fact that Alan mentions that this is a health issue, I am inclined to approve a solution. I'm not sure we have enough information about this at this point, because the, the trash cans won't fit in this at 40 inches. It's just not going to fit. And I do want to ensure that this isn't just a wooden box that's just placed out there and can be blown over. I would like to get a little bit more information about exactly where it could be located. We need to talk to maintenance about this to make sure that they can actually put that there. And there's the other issue that this is near a fire hydrant. So there are a lot of questions I have about whether this can actually be done here and whether this solution is actually the right solution. So I am tempted to deny this until we get a little more clarification on where they can put this and what structure they can actually put there, because I don't think this structure will serve their purpose.
That sound like a motion.
I guess that is, yeah.
And a question,
Alan?
what mechanism should we use for obtaining feedback from the homeowner about requirements or needs, or they just offered this as one possible solution, but it sounds like you want to talk to them about what their particular, or is it a maintenance question?
It's a big part of it is the maintenance question, and another question is whether maybe they just found this online and it looked like a good solution, but based on John's measurements, he actually went out and measured his trash can.
Okay.
We need more information about whether this is feasible.
Okay, so the two questions I took back were, is it big enough based on the dimensions provided? And is it fixed or temporary? What's the method of attachment? Right? Is that what you want to know?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Then want the homeowner to come at us with more ideas, or do we go to them with more ideas?
I wouldn't feel comfortable giving them ideas. I mean, I think if they understand the parameters, what the size of their garbage cans are, and whether it can actually be installed in a place that Sudden Valley allows. I mean, I think it may be a discussion with maintenance before.
So basically, we had a citation. The homeowner came up with an idea that they proposed, and we're saying, no, idea is not good. Come back with another mechanism for solving the trash can issue.
Yeah, because this may be a solution for more than one person. I mean, it sounds like they're not the only ones with this problem.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to lead them on thinking like building some structure is going to be like the long-term solution here. Like I'm really not cool with the idea that Sudden Valley homeowners are going to build structures on steep driveways to put trash cans in. Like it's a pain. Don't get me wrong. Like I have to drag a trash can up and down my lot, my yard, my street every couple of weeks, and it's not fun. But that's just what we signed up for when we moved to Sudden Valley. So
Yeah, I think if we did move forward with this type of thing, it might be some sort of a variance, because I don't want it to be like a thing that we always approve. I think it is going to be a case by case basis, and I understand their dilemma, and I'm sympathetic to it, and I think we can work with them, but I don't think this is the solution. Is that clear enough directive for them?
Absolutely, yeah.
So the
that
motion,
sounds like a motion, Daniel.
the motion was to deny as presented, pending more discussion with maintenance and ACC staff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that was as much fun as I thought it would be.
Your definition of fun is weird, man.
All right. Item 10, 11 Oval Court. This is a retaining wall, siding, and roof and door change. Any questions or issues?
I don't have any problems with anything on it.
Seems pretty low impact. I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 12, 29 Cold Spring. This is a deck. I think Patrick and I had a question about the screening on this deck. And apparently, I think it was Alan who informed us that it's a Firewise kind of screen to put under the deck. Is that correct, Alan?
That is correct. It is a fire retardant material similar to the screen on a door, screen door kind of thing. It's meant to drape the gap between the bottom of the deck and the ground. And the intention is to prevent flying hot embers driven by fire winds from going under the deck and possibly becoming an ignition point.
And other than that, I think it's a like-for-like deck replacement.
Oh, that's interesting. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that either.
Well, it seems like they're being responsible homeowners. I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 13. 32 Hollyview Way. Removing a tree with the fungus on it. And we had a arborist report. They had me at fungus. I move to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I think all we have now is item 15, which was the decision to move our evening meetings to the multi-purpose room. I don't know if you've ever been there, Dan.
No, it's my only question is like, I'm all in favor of it if it's somebody tells me where the hell it is. So.
We'll send you a map if this is approved.
It's downstairs on the first floor. As you enter the double doors to go to the recreation desk, but as you immediately walk through the doors, you hang a right and you go down a hallway, and there's like a little multimedia, multi-purpose room.
We'll put some red tape on the floor so you can't miss it.
Is that the room where they go ahead and count the ballots on elections?
Yeah, actually where the board has their meetings right now. So Gene is moving to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Dan.
I will be there on Tuesday. Looking forward to be back in the valley. So,
Did Gene tell you what to bring to the party?
Joe Jean, what do you want me to bring?
Who made the motion to approve item 15? Who made the motion to approve item? You did?
Oh, yeah. All right, we are going to adjourn this meeting at 6:40.
All right, Joe Jean, I'll bring an appetizer. How's that sound?
What are you bringing, Dan?
I'll bring an appetizer.